All right.
Hopefully, I'll be back to normal.
Hey,
So,
folks. Thank you for joining us again for another exciting episode of Yummo. This is the Year of Magical Learning podcast. And welcome to a brand new week. Today is November the 6th, and we are starting a brand new series.
yeah,
So, this book is probably, one of a favorite of Chris. Usually he has
it was.
a series if he likes the book. So, can't wait
It
to
was.
hear
It was a good
it.
one. This is a really good book. Actually, it was so good. I liked it so much that I had the Club Any Light program read this one all together, and they really enjoyed it as well. It's a really good book. It's called The Way of Integrity, Finding the Path to Your True Self by the author Martha Beck. I don't know how I stumbled upon this book. I really don't. I think I actually was looking for books on integrity because I'll tell you the story here is how finding integrity is in this reflection, but I won't spoil it. But I think I was literally looking for books just on integrity in general and stumbled upon this book through like a Google
Mm.
search for books about integrity, right? And it was this book by this author. Her name is Martha Beck. She left the Mormon church, and this is her kind of like a part memoir, part exploration of Dante's Divine Comedy. I don't know if have you ever read that book or know of it, or
I know of it. I don't recall what it is.
so
Been
like
a
Dante's
while.
Inferno,
Yeah, what I read in high school, which is like eons ago.
Right. I've never read anything of the Divine Comedy, but after this book, I actually would like to. But she uses Dante's hero's journey and framework basically
Hmm.
to, well, like I said, break down the process of attaining personal integrity into small, manageable steps, and shows you how to read your internal signals and work towards your true path. It sounds kind of
Sounds like a
kind of
beaver must dam.
that's exactly what this book is. So I didn't know what to expect when I started this book. Sometimes you start these self-helpish genre books, and you're like, oh God, like is it going to be like same thing I've heard over and over again, or what's the new twist here? I was a little leery of it, but immediately she captured my attention. It was just a great book and really enjoyed her message, especially how she wove in Dante's Divine Comedy around this hero's journey and finding integrity. So anyway, really good book. That's why we have 3-part reflection over the next couple of days. And this particular reflection title is Finding Integrity. This whole journey is about being honest, right? And sharing this journey with everybody. I'm not ashamed to say this. Like, I don't really care. Everybody knows this. All my friends know this that I've grown up with. It's just something that Chris Sears would always do. So, like, I love to tell, like, I wouldn't call them, well, you can call them lies, I guess, but like tiny exaggerations, right? Where like let's just say I beat somebody 6'3", 6'2" in a tennis match, and like as I'm recapping it for somebody, it's like 6'2", 6'2", or something. I don't know why I would do it. I did this my whole life. Like it was always like I would never like outright lie about anything, but it was always like a tiny little embellishment. I don't know if it was like self-conscious or something, and I just wanted to make it sound better, or like I don't really know what it was. I honestly I think I just kind of liked getting away with it and knowing like in the back of my mind like that was, I know it wasn't exactly that, but it was close. Like whatever, it's fine. So this is stuff that I've always done my life, right? So people they always make fun of me about stuff like that, and they're like, yeah, that's 95% of what you just said is true, and I'm like,
But it's like it gives you 5 minutes or gives you a Chris Sears. Remember that time when we have the challenge for you to speak
oh
in
yeah,
the meeting less than
yeah,
less than 4 minutes,
yeah, like for the
and
whole meeting, yeah,
and then you took like 10 minutes. Well, what I did was still less than 10 minutes because the other stuff I said what that doesn't count. So it's a
exactly.
Chris Sears 4 minutes.
It is exactly what this is. Like I find ways to justify stuff, and I like to think it's endearing and lovable. And my friends, it's not like my friends are like mad at me or something for doing stuff like this, because I've never done it to like be malicious to anybody. Like it's just it is what it is, right? Like I put the best polish on things that I possibly can, and that's how I've always been. So I didn't really care. Like another example, I've told you about this one, and this is what I was writing about in the book, or I mean in this reflection. Like when I was younger, the self-checkout lines, like this is a perfect example. Like the self-checkout lines at the grocery stores, they started to be invented around when I was like, I don't know, maybe 20-ish or something like that. And then my first job out of school, like it's not that I didn't have any money or something like that. I had plenty of money, but there was something about the thrill of scanning, as you're going through your own little self-checkout, and there was nobody monitoring you, and you're like, I'm gonna, that $9 gluten-free bread, just gonna accidentally, half scan it so it looks like it goes through on the video monitor and just throw it in the bag or whatever. Or, maybe my case of Red Bull that I wanted to buy back when I would drink like energy drinks, like, it's kind of expensive, but like nobody saw it, just put it in the bottom of the thing. And like I knew exactly what I was doing, but like for some reason it just, I don't know, I didn't care. Like I actually kind of loved getting away with it. It's not like I couldn't pay for it. It's not like I couldn't afford it. There was no reason behind it. It was just kind of like one of those things where I liked just getting away with it. I don't know. Like this is kind of my life, before my daughter, right? And then, I mean, Amelia, and everything changes. Like we've talked about in this whole entire journey is, everything changed after I met her. She showed me what it was like to live a life of values. And as this book talks about, it's weaving in like Dante's Divine Comedy. One of the sections of the Divine Comedy is when the hero's journey, basically, you're wandering around in the dark wood of error, she calls it. And, this is when you're kind of wandering in the dark, trying to fumble your way through to find your path, right? And like I like to think of that analogy as where I found myself after Amelia had passed away. For the better part of, I would say, 6 months to a year after that, I feel like I was in the dark wood of my own life and just trying to, like we talked about, after the atomic bomb goes off and you're, the rubble around your life and just trying to, which way to go. Just take a step forward. During that time in my life, that was when this concept that she talks about in this book called a soul teacher, somebody that, how does she describe it? A soul teacher is someone who helps your soul grow and evolve during your time on earth. You find yourself on your way of integrity. And Amelia, as we've talked about, with the Lion Tracker Guide to Life, she was my soul teacher. She showed me the way of, how to live a life of purpose and be a good person, basically, and the value of life in general and what that looks like. And every little line track she found, or left for me, was different values that we found as we both together climbed out of that dark wood of error together. And that was how this journey kind of began. That's what we've been talking about this entire time. So that leads me to, fast forward about a year after Amelia has passed away. I'd say we're out of the dark wood of error at that point in time. She left a lot of clues and, little paw prints for me to stumble upon with different values. And we've been experimenting it. By that point in time, you and I were deep down our own journey here. And there was I was at the grocery store. This is back when the pandemic was starting to lift a little bit. Like I said, I was coming out of my own dark wood of error and I was feeling a little bit back to normal, whatever that was. Like not normal, but like not in the dark wood of error scenario of life. I was grocery store, I'm checking out through the self-checkout line and I accidentally left, like, I don't know what it was. I don't remember what it was, but something in the bottom of the cart. And I just didn't realize I had it in there. And I'm walking out of the store. I looked down and I was like, oh shit, I forgot to pay for that. Like legitimately, I left it. I'm walking out. I'm about halfway to the exit after the checkout lines. And I just fucking stopped. I was like, is this the right thing to do? I was like, I'm having a conversation in my head. I'm like, this doesn't violate any values. Like this doesn't, I went through all my values in my head, but something doesn't feel right. I didn't mean to do it. I literally didn't mean to do it. And this is the conversation that's going on in my mind. Right. And I'm like, what do I do? And I don't know, something about like at that point in time, I just thought, to myself, like, what would my soul teacher do in this situation? And I was like, she would do the right thing. She would go back and she would pay for it, and this is why she's my soul teacher. And this is why I went back and I paid for it. And I, nobody knew, like nobody would have ever known. Like I was almost out the door, and I like stopped, went back and went to go pay for this thing that I found in my car. And then I walked back to my car, came back home, and then I just couldn't get this out of my head for like the next couple of days. I wrote about it. I was like, what the fuck was that? I was like, who cares? Nobody would have given a shit and it was a total accident. So I started to reflect on this and lo and behold, my soul teacher led me on another clue. And it was like one of those things where that was when I found integrity myself as a core value of mine. And that was when I added my latest and newest core value to the list, integrity. So I literally found integrity, right? So now these days, whenever I find myself wanting to say a tiny little fib or like we talked about with calling a ball out that maybe was in, but maybe it was out, but where I'm like, do I have some doubts? Is this really worth it in this scenario? What would Amelia think? Do I really want my daughter to think of her dad as a cheater or whatever? And somebody that, anyway. So long story short, this book reminded me and made me want to journal about this experience of finding integrity and the importance of integrity for me. So whenever I feel that tiny little, like that thing that we talked about, that little inner voice or whatever, where you're like, was that right? This is when I lean on my integrity core value to go, look, like for whatever reason, it may not violate any other values, like, but I know deep down inside that something still isn't right, and I need to figure this thing out and to stop and think about it and to try to be the person that I want to be for my daughter and for this whole entire journey. And that was my finding integrity story. So anyway, so the end of the question was, how did you find your way back toward purpose when you feel misaligned? So whenever I feel like misaligned, when something doesn't feel right, like that's when I lean on that integrity core value. So yeah, love to hear your thoughts. Headphone maybe.
Yeah. Hello?
Hmm?
Okay. So my thought on this thing is I think, a lot of people have gone to a point where they have taken on a new persona, a new character. And when that character has kind of like enveloped the entirety, that becomes their, I guess, compass. Because when you say fib or you say whatever, it doesn't violate anything because you have never unearthed once you found yourself, once you unearth the layer that is the mud and the crust of, that kind of envelopes your core being, then that no longer your personality, no longer your character. Then you follow that path, and that voice comes back as a different voice. And I
Yep.
think to me, that's something people don't realize. It's like, this integrity, is it mine? Is it not? Because a lot of times, if you, if a voice says something to you, right? And a lot of times your voice will tell you something because that voice to me is more authentic than the other voice. The other voice, when it envelops you, it's okay. There's a difference. The
Right.
the voice that tells you when that only shows up, it say, hey, don't do that, right? So imagine you have like, the devil on one shoulder and the angel on one shoulder. The angel always says no.
Right.
That's all. That's the only thing he says. Always says no. The other hand, the devil on the other hand, we always say it's okay. If you think
Right.
about it, whenever we have, I guess, taken on and embraced a different character that society kind of like envelopes us with it, we always tell people, hey, it's okay, or he did it, I can do it too, or this happens to me, so I'm doing it too. I told you about, like, when the same event happens to a person, one sees it as, hey, something happened to me, I don't want it to happen to other people. On the
Right.
other hand, the perspective of the villain is, this happens to me, right? I can do it to other people. It's the perspective. The reflection reminds me of finding integrity. It's almost like finding yourself,
Agreed.
right? And so I think once you find who you are, it's more authenticity, like who you are as a person.
Hmm.
And that's really going to start to, I guess, that voice or the soul teacher that you mentioned is going to be more crystal clear in terms of what you hear, because
Yep.
like you said, well, it didn't hurt anybody, blah blah blah, but then you still think about it, and
I
you
do.
cannot thinking about it. The thing is, even for, like you said, when you were young, you will embellish these harmless little lies, right? And
Mhm.
then you have this profound change in you where you say, hey, this is who I am now. It completely change the way you see things. It makes you clear on what you want to do and who you
Right.
are. And once you did that and you saw yourself, even for a match point, that is like you don't even know for sure, and he doesn't even know for sure, and it doesn't matter in the end. But it
It
still
does.
bugs
Yeah.
you for so much that you have to actually go and call the guy, right, and talk to him about it in order for it to stop bugging you.
Right.
So you
Text
to
him.
think of you.
Texted him. I didn't call. Oh wait, I just lost you. Where'd you go? There you go.
Welcome back, guys. The point I was trying to make is once you find who you are, the voice seems, it's going to be crystal clear.
Yeah.
It tells you there's certain thing that you are aligned with, not aligned with. And I think that's a big difference. A lot of time people mistake some other voice, because if you start to make excuses for yourself, right, that voice making excuse for yourself, that's a personality that you are trying to embrace. And I think that's something that I think needs adjustment. I think, one of those things where it reminds me of the saying, you can't expect a fish to climb a tree, right? So when you say a statement like that, the fish tries to be competitive and figure out how to climb a tree versus figuring out that he's a sea creature or a water creature, and he needs to do the things in the water versus trying to find ways to beat the monkeys in terms of standardized things that for whatever reason society has deemed that is the thing that is most important. And so if you take your character and you go through life and ask yourself, a lot of time that you do things, and if a voice says to you, it's okay to do this, like, and like I said, people have done this to me. Like, let's say people scam me out of something. I'm going to scam people out of it, because that to me it's like, hey, if they did it to me, I'm going to do it to them. And so that's to me, it's like you embracing a different personality. And that personality, for one, is not going
Well,
to give
it's
you
not
the test.
different. It's not different. Like I never liked doing those things. I think I enjoyed getting away with it, but it was never like these were purposeless activities. I think that's
Whether
the
it's
point. Is they were
purposelessness or not,
purposeless.
I think for your case, it's minor and not significant enough. But There are
Yeah.
people where it's significant enough to say, hey, I hate the world, I hate capitalism, I hate America. But think about it. There are billions of people, okay? I'm telling you this, okay? There are billions of people. They would die, okay, to go to America. I don't know if you know this, but there are billions of people would
I'm
die,
sure.
would do anything to go to America. And the fucking people in America want to leave America, okay?
Right.
So to me, that's the difference. You know about the guy that you talk about that wants to work for McDonald's. Hey, I get to say America. You think about so I'm
Yeah.
thinking is there are things where there is a significant where you embrace a wrong personality, and that takes you down the wrong path, and that
It does.
spirals out
It
of
does.
control.
Yeah.
And that's
No,
why.
I
So
agree.
so that's why I'm issuing this warning. It's like, hey, there's certain things you say, hey, when I'm doing something, it's okay, or it's not okay. But most of the conscience, most of the voice tell you, hey, this isn't aligned because there's a thousand, a million things that will not align with who you are. And there's only a few things, and probably only one or two things that align with you.
Right.
Perfectly aligned. I need to be here, where this is the temperature, this is the environment, this is the tree. But I need to be here, right?
Right.
Right. So it could be, hey, there's water in Alaska, but I can't go to Alaska because the temperature isn't right. And you can't say, oh, because you're beaver, frozen water, it's okay. Well, it's not okay. So there are
Right.
millions of infinite things
It
that
makes
don't
things
align.
crystal clear. I agree with you. It did, like my soul teacher, Amelia, made life really crystal clear to me what was important, what was purposeful, and what was purposeless, right? And I think the purposeless activities I've eliminated, not fully. I mean, it's still a work in
I
progress.
mean,
It
it's a
still
work in
teaches me
progress.
stuff,
That's why it's
you
called a
know.
journey. I mean,
Right,
it's not like
exactly.
you can just go completely change overnight, but it's a journey to go
I,
from where you are now to where you need to be, where you should be.
Right. I'll give
Right.
you a great example. We just got back from Puerto Rico in San Juan. We were there with friends celebrating one of my best friend's 40th birthdays, and a couple of his friends, a husband and a wife that I had never met before. These are people that he's become like really close friends with because their kids are around the same age. And it's his dentist, actually. I'd never met this guy before, never met his wife, but they've become really good friends with him and his wife, and that's fine. I mean, they do a lot of stuff for like kids sports and whatever all the time. Like that's fine. One of my best friends I've known since I was 5, he has another life. Like, I mean, just like I have other friends that he has no idea, like that's how life works. So these people I was meeting them for the first time, really, and they were on this trip with us, and they came to San Juan, and they were obviously getting to know us. My wife and I were getting to know them through the whole trip as we were kind of all traveling together, going to dinners all the time together, doing whatever you do in like group activities. It's a weird situation to be in when you don't really know somebody and you have to go, spend, you know, every waking moment basically in like group activities with somebody, so they're like getting to know, us in general and vice versa. And this guy, his name was Josh. They were really good people, great people. They were tons of fun to be around, and we had a great time around them. To give you a perfect example of how my soul teacher has changed my life, he asked me about 100 million questions about my dietary habits. He's like, I don't know how you sit here and watch us all just scarf all this food. He was like, is it really going to be that big a deal? I'm like, yeah, I would never. I mean, I've always been really disciplined about that. But then it's like, hey, let's go to the casino because there's a casino in our hotel. And I sat there and just watched them play, for like all the time. And they're like, don't you ever miss this? Because I know one of my best friends knows, like, I used to gamble all the time, right? And I'm like, no, I don't, not at all. I'm fine sitting here watching. I even sat there and let my wife gamble, and I just cheer her on, like, and I'm like, hey, it's fine. I don't really care. Or when they all want to drink way too much or something like that, and I'm like, no, I got to get up and go on a run in the morning. And they're like, really? You're gonna go on a run every single morning? And I'm like, yeah, I went on a run every day when I was there. Like, these are the things that are important to me. Like, I'm not saying I don't want to like participate in stuff, but I don't allow like the environments around me to like dictate to me anymore. Before I would do that, I'd be like, oh, whatever. I'm on vacation. It's fine. I can get stupid
Yeah,
shit faced.
because whenever you align with who you truly are, more of the saying that you hear from your voice, they say, don't do that. It doesn't align. It doesn't align. It doesn't align.
It's exactly
Right.
what it is.
And when
Yeah.
you align, and when they say, okay, this is good. But whenever you have something, it's okay. Like people say, you only live once, right? Live a little. All these saying is saying it's okay. It's okay to gamble. It's okay to have fun. And what you here for?
Right.
Put it then in the universe. What else the saying is what else
Right.
are you here for, right? That
Right.
saying this is the poison that it feeds you because you are that other character, the other
Right.
personality. But when you have your own true personality, your authentic self, it will tell you. And the thing is, you're gonna hear more no's just because the infinite infinite things that are not going to align with who you are, then there are things that are going to align with you. So you're going to, yes, you're going to hear more no's.
But more at peace than ever, because I don't really ever feel like I
Exactly.
have to make decisions. Like I'm just like, no, I got
Because
stuff I got to do. I'm gonna do that. Like, and that's like, I don't care if you think that I'm lame or boring or
but the thing
whatever.
is, to me, the thing is, once you understand who you are, and when for me, like whenever a person tells me, go ahead and drink this, go ahead and smoke this, it's like you only live once, and live a little. To me, what do I feel? I don't feel sorry for myself. I actually feel pity for that person.
Yeah,
That's a big difference. Because the thing is, in the beginning, when I didn't know who I am, I would feel kind of bad. I didn't get to participate. I'm getting short
yeah.
and the ball getting
Like you feel left
right?
out. Like you feel,
Blah. But
yeah,
now, if people tells me that, I actually feel sorry for that person. When I see people travel by themselves, right, and posting pictures and saying this and that, I say, well, you're not happy. You're trying to find happiness elsewhere. You're
right.
trying to find something that you don't have. To me, this is not a trophy. To me, it's a sign that you are miserable. So
Yep.
I actually feel sorry for people who tells me that now that I know who I am, that I'm like, because thing is, you really can't change the way I think about myself anymore.
Right.
Before you could, right? And I can tell you, I'm not very easily peer pressure in the beginning, but even then, when I was younger, from time to time, I would think about, because you have these thoughts, right? Hey, people say that. Why do they say that? But until you actually understand who you are and find out who you are as a person, then it doesn't change you. It doesn't even like nudge you even for a little bit. It actually
Right.
makes you feel the opposite. It makes you feel that that person needs your help more than ever. Say, look, dude,
Right. Right. But
why are you killing yourself with it? Why do you
the,
need to feel something
the
that's
thing that
empty?
agreed. The thing that I actually stressed out the most about on this vacation was one day I was an idiot. We were taking a walk on the beach with my friend that was turning 40 and his wife, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, all you gotta do is go around this like little rock, thing, and like there's a whole other section of this beach and it's huge and it's awesome. And
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh yeah, or you'd have to walk up to the street and go around like 2 blocks or whatever, and then come back to the beach. I was like, or you can just stay on the beach and we'll just go over these rocks. I did this morning when I was running back. I was fine. It was fine. I was like, not a big
Mm-hmm.
deal. I did it in the middle of the day when we're taking this walk in the middle of the day after like just grab some drinks or whatever at the beach bar. And we were just like taking a walk down. And I was like, you guys want to bring your shoes though? I'll bring your shoes, right? And I'm walking across these rocks. They're not like dangerous. I mean, they're kind of dangerous. At least in the morning, they were like, you definitely needed shoes, but you could
Mm-hmm.
easily just walk over them and like, whatever. Well, it was now like a little past noon. So the rocks were covered and like water and the waves were coming in and out on top of it. And they're all like looking at me going like, are you sure about this? And I was like, yeah, no, it's fine. And they're like, okay, all right. So my friend's wife starts following me and we like start walking across one of the things and this wave washes in and my sandal flies off. I'm like, oh shit. So I'm trying to grab it and I had my phone in my hand. I reached out with my phone in my hand, I catch the sandal and my phone gets soaking wet in the seawater. But I grab my sandal and then they're looking at me and they're like, and now my friend's worried about his wife and he's like, you guys get okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's fine. They're all going, we're good. We're going to go back this way. I'm like, fine, whatever. So we end up going back toward the resort and walking back and they're like, you're an idiot. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. I didn't realize it was high tide. Well, little did I know there was a tiny little crack in the top of my phone. Well, no, I knew there was a tiny crack in there, but I didn't realize that like it was not waterproof anymore. Well, my phone gets all fucked up. Like by the time that I get back home, I couldn't like the Face ID wasn't working, and for whatever reason, it was like really dim too on the screen. And I was like, something's weird. So I tried to restart it, and then when I restart it, it wouldn't restart. It just kept flashing like this little Apple logo on it, and I was like, uh oh. I was like, what the hell is going on? So then the reason I'm sharing this is to your point of like when I got the most panicked, right? I was like, oh my God. I was like, well, I didn't bring an actual book down here with me. And I was like, this is where I write my notes. Like when I journal in the morning, I was like, audio book that I was in the middle of, I was like, oh my God, I'd already done everything that I was supposed to do anyway on that day.
Right.
I was like, fuck, like if my phone is like out of commission over the next 2 days, not that I care about my phone, but like, I'm not going to be able to do the stuff that I like to do, in general. And that was like when I got really panicked. And I was like, all right, I got to figure this shit out. So I, grabbed my wife's phone and I started, luckily there was this phone repair shop literally like 2 blocks from the hotel. And I was like, that's weird. So I take it over there and this guy's like, I show you not. It's like your flux capacitor or something like that is broken. I'm like, what? It was obviously a joke, but so it was some dumbass, like, I'm 100% sure. He's like, that it's this and you got some water on it. And he was like, the part, somebody else, one of my other counterparts in another store has it. I don't have it here, but he was like, if you want to leave the phone here, bring it back, tomorrow, or come back tomorrow, like at midday or whatever. And I should be able to get the part. And I'm like, okay, fine. So anyway, that was like the most terrifying part of the whole entire trip for me. Was like, I was like, oh my god, what am I gonna do? But not any of the other stuff that we're talking about. Like, I don't care about any of that other shit. But I was like, oh my god, I can't. Like, that was almost a roadblocker for me. Where I was like, right. I gotta prepare for this in the future now. What do I do? I need to bring some backup books when I travel, like hard copies and a journal, an actual journal to handwrite if I need to.
How there are certain things that we have accustomed ourselves with, and it becomes like life or death situation where if I don't have my phone, I'm gonna die, or like a lot of people, for whatever reason, they miss an exit and they run into the little bar, that little, like, kind of like the rail thing. It's like, dude, because we are so caught up in becoming this new persona that someone else enveloped for us, that I mean, once you found yourself, right, the things that would have like completely derailed the whole entire day, it's not even registered in your mind. Hey, my phone is broken. I can't Facebook anyone.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so it's amazing to see that kind of, because it's proof that the things that we think we need today, it isn't needed at all. The things that, hey, like if the phone or some sandals or something that's missing, or you get scammed, it's not the end of the world. Even if you lost all your money, you still have your health, right? Right? I mean, you can make it back, because people say something about the bird isn't afraid to land on a broken branch because it doesn't rely on the branch to hold it up. It relies on its wings. Right, so it's not afraid. And so that thing is, once you really see who you are and see the kind of personality that makes you, it's a whole new perspective. You see, there are things that it doesn't matter to you, and there are certain things most people would go and have the whole day ruined just because, for whatever reason, they're out of commission. They can't use the internet. They can't call somebody, but they don't imagine that, hey, 30 years ago, there's no phone.
I know, man. I was thinking about that. So the next morning, I went on a long run. So we were staying in this area called, I don't know, have you ever been to Puerto Rico?
No, I have not.
San Juan's the capital, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool area. But their main beach area in San Juan is this area called Condado Beach. It's like where all the resorts are and stuff, right in the middle of the city. If you keep going down the coast from Condado Beach, is what they call an area called like Old San Juan. That's the old Spanish settlement of the main city of San Juan, where it was like these cobblestone streets and like these awesome like Spanish, like it's a really cool area. They had these two huge forts that blocked the bay that were like the Spanish built, these massive forts that bookended the main city, and it was built on this hill. It's overlooking, like, it's just beautiful. It's like awesome city and awesome like area. And the old San Juan area is like just really, really cool. Well, to your point, the next day I was like, well, I got I'm going on a run in the morning. I was like, I can Google it really fast on my wife's phone or something. But I was like, I think I know how to get there. I mean, I did. Like, you could follow like a beach path. I'm like, I'll figure this out. Like, it's not a big deal. So I'm like running there. My wife ran with me actually out to Old San Juan from the resort on Condado Beach, which is about like 3.5, 4 miles or something, just depending on where you go in like Old San Juan. So we ran out there together. We had breakfast, and then she was like, I don't want to run anymore. She's like, I'm good. She doesn't like to run that much these days. She loves her spin cycle or Peloton or whatever in her like yoga classes and stuff. Like, she used to run all the time ever since actually Amelia was born. There's something about it. There's something that's like an emotional trigger for her, I think, personally. She's kind of shared it, but that's her story. She can share whatever she wants to share about that. So luckily I got her to run with me out there, right? And she had fun. We enjoyed the scenery on the way and enjoyed Old San Juan. And then I was like, well, I'm going to run back. She goes, well, she's like, I'm going to go take an Uber. And she was like, well, I'll see you, I guess, when you get back. I'm like, yeah, I guess I don't know. I mean, I don't have a phone. I don't have any way to contact anybody. I have no I don't know where I'm going technically. I mean, I know we just ran out here, but I could easily get lost. I have my credit card with me in case I gotta buy something.
You ran it back. Whatever path you take, you do the reverse of it.
I know. I knew how to get back. I was just like, what? I
This
was
is
by
like
myself.
almost like a lost art, right? Like
it is. It really is. Yeah.
all you have to do is look up. Okay,
Right.
what's the tallest thing you see? Okay, that's the point of reference.
Right. Yeah. No, I agree. No, I agree. I mean, you can
That-
definitely navigate a city, but it's like that crutch that we to your point of like, how did we do this shit before? Like I don't. I mean, my adult life. Yeah, my entire adult life, iPhones have existed, right? Like from like
Mm.
post college. So like when I've been able to afford traveling and things like that, I've never really not had a smartphone at this point in time to travel with. So I never personally had to ever navigate cities with like maps. Like I remember watching my parents do it, but like I never had to personally navigate cities with maps. I never personally had to like, I don't know, plan out a trip. I don't know where I'm going and what we're gonna do, and like make sure that everybody, if you separate the group separates, we all have to have like a rallying point at a certain time. You know what I mean? Like these are things that I don't remember even how to do anymore because phones make it so easy.
Yeah, so you get a smartphone, you get a dumb person.
You're right. It really
I
makes
mean, the
navigating
smart
cities
has to
hard.
go somewhere, right? Either it stays in your head
Yep.
or it goes to the phone. Because when it goes to your phone, you don't hold it anymore. So you're just a dumb user when you
Yeah,
have a smartphone.
I actually a couple of books I just finished recently kind of alluded to that a little bit of like, we think like hunter gatherers and whatever were like stupid, like more primitive than us. And they're like, they're probably way smarter than you were, only because they had to remember everything, like what they ate, what they didn't eat, where to find it. Like, this plant does this one does this animal behaves like this is how I shoot, this is how I do this. I mean, they had to really know like all the ins and outs of everywhere they were at and what was going on, and like and be able to teach people and learn. Like, I mean, to your point, I was freaking out for 30 minutes away from civilization, on my own, and I'm like, what happens if I don't know, like I mean, it's kind of sad,
Basic
honestly.
stuff. Where's the stuff?
Is it east or is it west?
I mean, this is why sometimes it's important to understand who you are, and because that is what you need. Like I said, today's like, if something will happen to the internet, that happen to the power, happen to the signals, they get blocked for whatever reason, we are completely lost. We can't even evacuate. If somebody would say, hey, government say you got to evacuate to this, rallying point, and you can't rely on it on the phone, who is it that's going to lead you there?
Good question.
Right. So let's say, you're talking about the people in Ukraine, right? If they say, hey, you have to evacuate and you got to go to this place where we'll provide you assistance, support, or whatever. Well, how do you get there? I mean, most people have phone and have satellite, but I mean, the thing is, these things can easily be knocked out
and manipulated.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
because they give you the wrong coordinate, and you go to the point where you're going through hell just because I'm going to give you the wrong coordinate.
I mean, I'm getting
somebody
this visual in my head.
Cybersecurity can hack the network. I mean, you think about like if you're using GPS, and because it's a cloudy day, right? Your GPS can't find a fixed location. That Google Voice lady keep telling you go to this around. Like, where the fuck am I going? Right?
Like, it's just turn left, man. Like,
if you turn right over there. Off the phone, it's over there.
Yeah. No, that happens a lot actually on GPS, where you're like, wait a minute, I'm going right there.
With the Apple, whenever they move away from Google Maps, that map completely got everything wrong. Yeah, it sucks. It's so slow and it's inaccurate. Yeah, you get lost so many times. Apple user get lost so many times, and it's like so many people though. That's the point I'm trying to make. Is so many people get lost who are on Apple. They so get lost. They can't find the place.
I mean, true. The analogy that you're giving, I think, is like so spot on to this conversation of like, I navigate my day-to-day like by my values now. I didn't have any way to navigate before, right? I was prone to go any way that I wanted to based on whatever came across my path and whatever I felt like doing or not doing. And a lot of times it was purposeless. But this is, to your point of like, when you're traveling, it's not that hard. You just need to remember landmarks, and you need to remember things that matter, and then that'll take you back to where you want to go. Like, that's exactly what values are. It's like landmarks,
right?
They're footprints. My soul teacher left me the little footprints as a lion tracker guide to life kind of thing, where I'm just chasing her little tracking her, and understanding how to get back to where we need to go anytime I get lost, right? Like this is the whole point of all this stuff, right? I could easily have walked into that, that resort, been like, oh, fuck it, it's a casino, like I'm here, who cares? Or like, well, I'm gonna tell some fibs, these are new people, they don't know me, like whatever, it's fine. Or I'm gonna do like, there's a million things. I'm not gonna run in the morning because these people want to go out late tonight, and I know we've just
you only live once, right?
third bottle of wine,
it's only a bottle of wine, third bottle. I'm drinking throughout it. It's fourth one. It doesn't,
right,
make no difference, right? It's 100th bottle, no difference. 101, right? Where do you stop? This is where the way of integrity comes in. It's like, look,
right.
Do you have a, I mean, when you say, hey, when you draw a line, right? It is a sharp line. It's not a fuzzy line, right?
No.
You say, hey, this isn't who I am. This is who I'm not. You can't say, well, it's close enough. And that's the thing is, when you are looking at the landmarks, these things are integrity because they don't change. That's why you use them as landmarks, right?
Exactly.
If you look at something that changes, right? Well, it can't be used because you don't know, when it changes. Well, when I need to go here, I was there. Now look at it. Well, it's changed, so I don't know where I go. So there's no point in looking at something that changes.
Right.
So you have to look at it as something that's consistent, constant. It is the waypoint, the markers, and the markers for us as a individual, it is our own core values. Your core values are different, and my core values are different. And for me, it's like I can tell fibs and I can lie, but I pay a high cost for it.
Right.
Because for you, right, you go through things, and for me, it's like I have this apprehension. I mean, that's who I am. When I lie to you, I have to muster a lot of energy to do it. It doesn't flow.
Right.
But it takes me no energy. I just tell you straight, hey, I fucked up.
Yeah, it is liberating to be like, no, I'm not gonna drink. No, I'm not gonna eat that food. No, I'm not gonna go gamble tonight. You know what I mean? You guys have fun. I'm not here to like.
I can pretend that I can drink, right? And I say, hey,
I can hang out with you guys.
I can hang. I can do whatever you guys do. I can drink. I can smoke. I can do that, and I can pretend that. But that is a miserable existence for me, for one, right? And the thing is, I barely can be able to keep up because that's not who I am. But for me to say, no, that's not who I am, for one, it's liberating because I am true to who I am. And it doesn't tug at my conscience whatsoever. It just right? You're at peace with yourself and you do whatever you want. And that to me is very free. I call it anchoring because in the way that I say it is anchor because you're like this anchor, right? You cannot be swayed by anything. It makes you feel like you're crystal clear where you stand. And to me, that alleviates the anxiety, right? The anxiety of this and that and the other one. Because I say, well, I don't drink, regardless of what people say. I don't care if you're mad at me. I don't care if you think I'm rude. I don't care, right? That's who I am. You can think whatever you want. But the thing is, when I did that, and that's who I am as a person, I don't think about it again. But if I pretend to be this, other person I'm not, all night long, all day long, I say, well, did I do it right? Did what people think of me, blah blah. So your thoughts is like racing about this stupid thing, this stupid like persona that you're embracing. Just like you say, hey, I call it out on this. I'm keep thinking about it. Why can't I shut it down? You think about it. That's the tug, and it's not.
When I was playing that pickleball match, there was a shot that was clearly out, and my opponent was like, "Are you sure about that one?" And I was like, "I am 100% sure."
Doesn't matter what the other person thinks.
It doesn't at all. Like I knew it was out, and I'm like, "It's fine."
Your mind is basically wrap it up and basically put it in the drawer. It doesn't think about it anymore. You're completely allowed to go and do other things. But if you don't, it keep holding on to you, keep tugging onto you, and you get anxiety, and you're miserable. You can't enjoy the moment.
It's very. I think that's the word. Is miserable. Yeah, I think you're totally right. Which, by the way, I think that was the wrong word to end on because I'm not miserable right now. But I was going to say I'm really tired.
Exhausted.
That was a long. That's been a long 20 or 48 hours of travel and work, and in this pickleball,
Right. Yeah.
tonight. But so anyway, all right. If you're cool with it, let's put a pen because we got two more of finding integrities.
Continue tomorrow.
They're good. These are good ones. This is one of my favorite books. I think this is one of those books that I want to go reread a few times in the future. Just it's a good reminder. And also Dante's Inferno or Dante's Divine Comedy is something that was a good reminder. I've wanted to read that one for a while. I actually bought it and I was I was I don't know, something was weird about that book where I think I bought the wrong version. So I'm gonna try to revise this one again. Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining. The question we can leave for everybody is, how do you find your way back toward the path, toward purpose when you feel misaligned? Like, where do you find your landmarks at? What's your methodology? I think we know ours, and that's important, So yeah, love to hear your answers someday if we ever get a chance to talk about it. But thanks for joining, and we'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow. Good night.